Hey guys, we're finally back to some video content here. We got my car just about ready to go back together. I know the vast majority of this work, I did not record anything. Some of the footage got lost, and I really was just grinding to get this done in the middle of doing everything else, keeping up with life. You guys' orders, mounts, everything else. So I was out here every other night for a couple hours where I could, just to get everything done. So when this goes together, you'll see the turbo kit and most of the fab work that was done, but there's a few really nice little parts, so we'll go over it as we put them together. But the engine bay, I painted it. This is some just base clear. I went ahead and cleaned up the engine bay, shot it. That way it looks a little better going together. We got the motor all assembled, sitting in the back of my truck right now. We'll go over some details of this maybe later, but it's a forged iron block with 247 PRCs, basically all you need to know. So it should be ready to make some power, but we're gonna get ready to throw the transmission on this and then stab it back in the car, get this thing going, hopefully to get on the dyno for 2K. Probably not gonna be ready to race it because I don't have time to get the cage built and everything else, but hopefully I can at least have it fired up, running, be able to get it on the dyno and see what it does. So let's get to work. So for you that don't know, this car has a aftermarket case power glide in it. I just put this thing on the scale. It weighs 120 pounds. It does not have a converter in it at that weight, and it doesn't have much fluid. So we're gonna see how much this thing weighs all put together, but we'll get this bolted up and then it will stab it in the car. This is getting a different torque converter than it used to have. Still a 9.5-inch BTC, but the old combination had a 17.0 converter, a little bit looser, help with the stock bottom end. And plus it's just what came with the transmission, so it worked out pretty well. This one's a little tighter, so got this used from Caesar. Came out of his truck, he stepped up to something a little different, so hopefully this will work well with the combination and the weight of the car. It's already got a quart of oil in it, so you should be able to get it stabbed. Stand makes everything pretty easy to get together. Dowel's lined right up on there, so throw a couple bolts in here, we'll be good to go. So the next thing that's different, we ended up swapping out our stock lower motor mounts. We were going to leave the stock ones, but due to the location of the turbo kit, which you'll see here in a second, everything was real tight and close, so I didn't need much movement. So these are from Condor Speed, and these are basically solids. They have a piece of UHMW plastic in there, which allegedly soaks up a little vibration. Not that it really matters in this car, but nice little piece for the price. So if those work out well, it'd be a recommendation. They also have a polyurethane one, so it's a good option. We're gonna go ahead and get the stand off here, throw the new set of mounts on here. This is slightly special. I went ahead and dropped my motor just because of turbo kit clearance, and I had the ability to with this oil pan. So these are special mounts just for this car. All right, we got it stabbed in there, pretty much centered up. The solid motor mounts work out pretty nice. This thing should not move at all once it's locked down, but I'm gonna go ahead and get all the turbo kit and everything on it, before I lock everything down in case there's little final adjustments that need to be made. But transmission's lined up with the cross member, angle looks good, centered up pretty well in the car. This whole thing is offset towards the passenger side, most of them are. So on the motor mount, most of the time the adjustment slot is all the way over. That's pretty normal because the way the 6-cylinder sat in here, it wasn't centered on, so works out pretty nice. Go ahead and get some stuff buttoned up on here and start putting the rest of it back together. This is the tubular front end I built. I really didn't do this for weight, just did it for clearance. You can see the intercooler in here, but for comparison, this weighs about 15 pounds. I had just weighed it. So get this thrown on there. It's a little difficult because I didn't think about the angle here, but I am able to get it on. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and throw the turbo kit on. So you haven't seen them yet, but these are the manifolds I ended up building. Kind of look weird until we get them in, but with the turbos behind the strut tower, we went ahead and deleted the power steering or the power brakes, the booster. We're gonna do a reverse mounted Willwood style, which I'll show you. It gets mounted on the inside. So all the master cylinders will be on the inside, open up a bunch of room right here. The other turbo goes on that side, clears the steering shaft. So we'll get this one bolted in, you'll see how it works. Got 2 bolts in there. You can see how this is gonna work. It's a log style manifold, 1 3/4 runners, steps up to 2.5, and goes up. V-banded turbo inlet and 50 millimeter wastegates per side. So once the turbos are in here, both compressor covers go down, charge pipe go down the frame rails. So we'll go ahead and get that bolted up and move on to the other side. These are also Cerakoted. This is like a air cure Cerakote. So doesn't really help much with temperature, but it does keep them looking decent. They're stainless anyway, but I like the contrast of the bronze and the black. Side bolted in now. So it gives you a pretty good idea how the turbos are gonna sit. You'll see them here in a second, but tuck's pretty good. Stock coil's clear. The plugs are a little hard to get to on these ones, but possible. So we'll get all this stuff zapped down, move on to the next step. All right, so we've gone ahead and thrown a couple more things on here. So you can see the intercooler that I fabbed up. We've got this on, 2 blow-off valves on the top. Still have to finish up the charge pipe between the throttle body and the cooler. Also went ahead and threw on the modified accessory drive. This is similar to the one I sell, just the power steering pump is shoved closer to the motor a little bit to make clearance for this charge pipe. So what we're gonna do now is go ahead and get some drain lines figured out. We've got the 2 VS7875s going on. These are V-band housings, and makes it nice to clock them around. So I'm gonna put the drain fitting on. I already had welded in 2 bungs in the pan before I put the motor in on the pan when I assembled it. So we're gonna get the turbos in here, start running some lines. So we're making some project.
What did he say?
We lost some footage on the last round when I was building some of this, but a lot of it is pretty boring to watch me put together. But we're getting everything sorted out here. We've got this side on the driver's side almost complete. Got everything powder coated too. Finished up the intercooler. Finishing up this side of the charge pipe now. But this turbo is mounted. I still need to make this down pipe and get the wastegate mounted, but it'll be similar to this side here, coming out the fender. These are loose. Still need to make a trim ring to go on here, but that should look real nice. Pretty happy with how it's turning out. Nice and symmetric. Should be nice, flowing, pretty efficient setup the way it is. Only thing that's really gonna suck is spark plug clearance, but this side's pretty easy to get to. This side might have to pull this cover and pull this quick disconnect off to get to these pretty easily, but it's coming together. Got to finish up some tabs on the front end to finish getting the headlights mounted. Got the radiator all mounted up in here as well. Fan is on with a shroud. Pretty good clearance down in here. So keep getting after it and hopefully get it. So we're pulling the windshield wiper reservoir out of this fender so I can finish this downpipe, and I finally got the thing out. And I pulled the hose off. The damn thing squirted me in the face with this fluid that's been in here for God knows how long, and it smells awful, putrid. I actually had to go inside because of how bad it was. So good riddance to this thing.
We're gonna be jumping forward now. We got really busy with 2K. Mike was trying to finish his car. We had 2 customer cars we were trying to finish. as well as Frank trying to finish his car. He swapped over the turbo kits, so there was a lot of filming that didn't get done. And so what you're going to see here is we're going to jump forward to when the car is at the shop. Mike ended up moving it to the shop so he could get it on a lift, do all the fuel system stuff. So originally the car had two 450s in the tank, and he went ahead and sumped the factory plastic tank and is running a MagnaFuel 750 in conjunction with the same 450s that were in the car. So he brought it there, he got all of his fuel done, got his wiring harness in. He did a lot of the wiring needed to make the car run. As it got closer to crunch time, it became more about just getting the car to start. We didn't think it was going to make the dyno. We did run into some problems. Mike and I had measured for the push rods. Not sure what we did wrong or if something just wasn't sitting right, but we ended up having to get shorter push rods. The first start attempt, the car had no compression because every valve was open. So got the correct push rods, tried to start it, car would fire and kind of start. It sounded horrible, it sounded like it was only running on 4 cylinders. We ended up having some issues with how the push rods were seated on the lifters. This car is running Johnson short travels, and their link bars, there's no valley trays, and just some of the push rods weren't sitting exactly how they needed to be. So, and we tried switching injectors when we didn't know what it was, but eventually figured out that we had 2 rocker arms that were essentially stuck open, weren't doing anything. Fixed that problem, car fired up, sounds great, has great oil pressure, and you're gonna see that next. So now the next thing for the OG car is we're actually trying to get it to the dyno this weekend. And that's if Mike gets everything done he wants to do. The car's running good, but we still have some things. Fan wiring needs to be done and all that stuff programmed in the Holly. I believe he had some other wiring things he needed to finish up. So he's working on the car tonight and probably tomorrow, and we're gonna aim for Sunday to take it down to the dyno and just kind of do some shakedowns. And if everything goes great, you know, we'll hopefully make a good number, but we'll find out what other gremlins, little issues we're gonna have. Guys, that's gonna do it for this video. We'll catch you guys in the next one. We got a bunch of videos coming out, all the cars, a bunch of updates, my car, Frank's car, hopefully good dyno video from the OG car. We got some Texas 2K stuff. So we appreciate you guys watching. We appreciate y'all supporting the channel, supporting Mike, supporting the development of this platform. We'll catch you guys in the next one.